Hi crafters, it's Chloe from Chloe's Creative Cards, and today I'm really excited to be sharing with you a fabulous project that I've made using the Gilded Baubles stamp and die set. So let me pop the other camera in. You can have a little look at what we are going to be creating today. So this is it's a lovely kind of stampy, nice and simple card to make this one, but we're going to add lots of bling, and I'm going to show you a couple of little top tips as well as to how to create this one. So we will get started and dive on in and have a little look. So we're going to be using the Gilded Bauble stamp and die set, and that's pretty much all we're using for this project. We're going to be using some Twinkling Lights wow powder and some Mercury glass, and of course we're going to use a bit of Diamante sparkle and glass slipper glitter. So everything that I've used for this project is listed in the little description below, so please do have a look, and you can shop all of the products on our website, which is www.chloescreativecards.co.uk. Okay, I'm going to pop the overhead in, and then we can have a little look and get started. So for this card, we're going to make it as a 6x8 card. So I've taken an 8x8 card blank and just chopped a bit off the top basically. So we're going to start off by using one of the beautiful patterned papers, and this is from that Gilded Christmas foiled paper pad. And this is lovely, really luxurious, beautiful for your projects. So we're going to start off by using that. And then I've also cut a little piece of Quartz pearl card that's just a little bit smaller to fit on the top. Now, if you wanted to, you can gut the middle out of this piece to save it. I personally find that quite hard when I'm demoing to stick the layers down. So I'm just going to leave it as a full piece. So we're going to start off by taking some scrap paper. Okay, and we're going to do a little bit of edging just on here. So we're going to take a chisel tip glue pen, and we're going to take some of our lovely glitter. So this one is glass slipper that I'm using. There we go. So we're going to take our little piece of foil paper, and I'm going to take my chisel tip glue pen, hold that pen at about a 45-degree angle, and just drag it towards myself like this, look. There we go. Okay, so then we've got that lovely glittered border just going around the edge there. So we're going to pop that to one side. I'm going to assemble the card kind of at the end, I think, and we're going to bring in that piece of Quartz pearl card. I'm just going to grab my little dustpan just to get rid of some of that excess glitter there. So we're going to take our piece of Quartz pearl, and we're also going to take an anti-static bag and give it a little dust over. One seems to be an old one. There we go. So we're just going to give that card a little dust over, and then we're also going to take our clear embossing ink pad and our stamps. So grab my clear embossing ink pad. I'm going to grab a couple of blocks just to pop my stamps onto. There we go. Just going to give that block a little rub over with a baby wipe. I think I've had a stamp on it just before, and it's just a little bit inky. Just give that a little rub. There we go. Right, so we're going to grab our stamp set in, and we're going to start off with these two kind of beaded designs. So I'm going to peel that off and stick that onto our acrylic block. Now, if you find the bending out of shape because they're quite thin, place it down on your craft mat and then pick your stamp up from there. And that'll keep the stamp in shape. Okay, do the same with this one. Okay, and then we're going to bring our card back in. So I feel like there's something, that's what it is. I've got a foam pad stuck to my desk underneath the mat. I was thinking it feels like there's a big bump in the middle. So of course when you're stamping you want a nice smooth surface to stamp onto, preferably not a foam pad underneath. Okay, so we're going to take our stamps and we're going to ink them up. So we're going to start off by just using our Wow Clear Embossing ink pad. And I'm going to take this one first, the slightly kind of wider one first. So ink up our stamp, and we're going to emboss this one, and we're going to use some Mercury glass embossing powder. This is one of my favourite embossing glitters actually. So what I like to do is I like to start from the middle and then work my way out. So I'm going to stamp that one there, and then you can take your scrap paper in. Okay, and we can do the same again. I'm going to overlap and then pop one there. And I'm going to re-ink. So we're re-inking every time. We're going to move that in, stamp that one there. Okay, and then we're going to take our heat tool and heat this up. So we're going to hold this heat tool still, and then as soon as that powder starts to melt and change, we're just going to move that heat gun over the image. There we go. So we're going to use the other stamp now. So this is the kind of thinner one. So I'm going to give it another little dust over just with my anti-static bag, just in case I've got any little fingerprints on there. And then we're going to go in with our clear embossing ink pad, ink up our stamp, and we're just going to start to add some of these kind of lower, kind of like lower hanging chains, I guess. Start to add some of those in. And you don't have to worry about being too precise. You kind of want it to look a bit artsy, a bit kind of overlapping. You don't need to be too careful. You want it to look quite like as if these little beads are just hanging. Okay. So we've got that bit done there. So we'll take our heat tool and heat this little bit up. There we go. So we've got that nicely heated across the top. So we're going to pop that piece to one side now, and we're going to start to create our little baubles. So to do that, we've got some Quartz pearl card, and we're going to take, so we're going to do the snowflake, this longer one, and this one in Mercury glass, and then the others we're going to emboss in Twinkling lights. So let me grab a couple of blocks again to pop these on. Okay, give them a little wipe over. So we're going to grab our stamps and just pop these down onto the block. You can see my stamps have been well used. They could do with a bit of a wash now, I think. So to wash them, I would recommend you just pop them in the sink, a bit of soap, like fairy liquid, warm soapy water, give them a good rub, and then just let them air dry naturally. Then any glitter, any particles, anything that's got stuck to the stamp will then come off, and their natural stick will return. So we're just going to take our little anti-static bag and dust over our card to start with. Okay, and then we're going to take our Wow Clear Embossing ink pad. So move that out of the way. I'm going to ink up my stamp first. So lots of light tapping all over the image. There we go. So these are going to be my Mercury glass ones first of all. So we're going to position these down onto here and press. So you want firm, even pressure all over the image. And then lift that away. And then we can grab our scrap paper in, cover that with our Mercury glass. This is such a lovely embossing glitter as well. This is one of the ones that I designed with Wow. It is a Chloe's Creative Cards exclusive, but it's stunning. It's like a silvery powder, but it's quite warm, so it's got a little bit of gold in, a little bit of silver. It's absolutely gorgeous. It's one of my favourites. So we're going to just heat these little baubles up now. So just chasing that embossing powder. So as soon as we see that embossing powder start and melt and change, we're just moving the heat gun over the image. There we go. So then we're going to take our little anti-static bag again, and we're going to take the other ones now. Okay, and we're going to ink these up. So again, with our clear embossing ink pad, lots of light tapping all over the image. There we go. Then we're going to position that down and press. So you want firm, even pressure all over the image. And then we're going to lift that off, and we're going to take our Twinkling Lights embossing glitter, sprinkle that over the top, and then we'll tap away any excess and heat this up. There we go. Since we put new lights in here, it's really hard to see when the embossing powder's melted. Let me just... I think it's because the lights are so bright, it makes it so much harder. So what we're going to do now is take our little dies. So these are the dies that come in the stamp and die set. So these all coordinate with the baubles. Okay, so we're going to bring this in. We're going to pop the die over the top of the image, and then we'll just use a bit of low tack tape to tape these down. So we've got like the little snowflakey one here. I love this design as well. I'll grab a card to show you too, because it is just behind me. But I've obviously used like the selection of baubles on this one, but if you wanted to, you can just pick one or two and it looks equally as beautiful. So you can see how lovely that then looks, and it gives you a totally different look as well, just by using a couple of the baubles rather than using them all. So this is great for batch making as well, because you can sit and stamp out a load and then glitter them up, and then they're good to go. So we'll get these all taped down. So we've got our little star here as well. There we go. Okay, and then next up we're going to take our die cutting machine. So I'm going to use my base plate, my plastic shim and my cutting plate. So I'm using a Gemini, and we're going to send this through to cut our baubles out. There we go. And then we can grab this when it gets to the other side, when it's finished. And we can pop those through. So let me lift that away. Okay, so what we're going to do next is we're going to start and glitter these up. So the glitters that I've used to do this are Diamante Sparkle, which is a chunky silver. So that's this one here. And Glass Slipper, which is the finer one. Okay, so again, we're going to go in with that Art Glitter Dries Clear Glue and just glitter these up. Now I have got some that I've already done just so that they were dry for the project, but you can see how you can just go in with that fine tip applicator and just add that PVA glue onto the designs. And then we're going to take a little bit of that Diamante Sparkle, sprinkle that over the top, and you've got that lovely glitter. Now, I personally really like using gold and silver together at Christmas. I know some people are like, they shouldn't be mixed, but I actually really like mixing metals. I do it with jewellery as well. When I wear jewellery and things, I think gold tone and silver tone looks really good together. So if you want to stick and kind of just do all gold or all silver, you can, but I personally think mixing and matching them works well. So glittered the little star up, so you can kind of just follow the designs really and bling these as much or as little as you like. So just going around the edge of that one there. Also glittered these little bits. There we go. And then we can do this one also. Do a little bit of a mix on this one. So we've got a little bit of Diamante Sparkle going on there. There we go, cover that one. And then we've got these smaller ones as well. So on this one, just done that bit at the bottom and that bit at the top. And then this one, I think, just done these little kind of petals here. Okay. So once we've got those glittered, what I've then done is, I'll just do one to show you because this takes a little bit of time. You can get these kind of little nail art jewel boxes. You just get Amazon, sell them anywhere really. But they have some really tiny little jewels. So what I think is quite nice to do sometimes is take some of those like really tiny ones. And again, it depends how far you want to go. If you don't want to do this, you don't really have to because there are the dots on the stamp, so you could just leave the embossing showing. But I quite like to add just some of these little jewels in. And then I've got one where it's all dry, so you won't see the glue. There we go. So you can then go in and add these little jewels kind of onto the baubles. So if I move these ones out of the way, I'll just have to do it a bit carefully because they are still wet. There we go. So if I bring in the ones that I've already done, you can see how when they're dry, you can go to town adding all of your little jewels and bits and pieces. So then when it dries, they look like this, which is really pretty. Okay, so we'll pop those to one side, and we're going to bring back in this little piece here. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just use just a normal pen or a pencil. Oh, there we go, look, an IKEA pencil. That's perfect, we'll use that. So what we're going to do is kind of lay our little baubles out and map where we want them to be. So we're going to have one here, like this. And then we can put one kind of, maybe about here. And then we can pop this one a little bit lower. That one there. And then we've got the shorter one we can do here. We've got the little star. And this one. About there. So what I then do is put these little pencil markings, and they are very small. I don't even know if you'll be able to see them kind of on the camera. But the reason why I do that is because in the stamp set, you do also get like a little straight line stamp. Okay, so you can use this to create the chain for your baubles. You don't have to if you don't want to. If you just want to kind of do them as is, you can. But we have got the lines on our acrylic blocks. It's quite a thin stamp, this, so let me just grab a little baby wipe. I think it's got a little bit of glitter just on the back there. Okay, so what we can do is take our little stamp and stick that down so it's nice and kind of straight. Ink on there. This can happen when your stamps, if they've got a bit of glitter on, or your acrylic blocks have got a little bit of kind of something on them. That can prevent your stamp from sticking. There we go. So we've got that down on our acrylic block. So I'm then going to take my clear embossing ink pad. Not happy because it's not straight. There we go. So take our clear embossing ink pad. And what we're going to do is, just where these little pencil lines are, we're going to stamp one of these little lines. Like this. So this is how your baubles are going to look like they're hanging on your card. There we go. Okay, so now we're going to grab in our scrap paper, and we'll take a little bit of that Twinkling Lights again. Just chuck that over. And then you can see how we've then got the little chains to hang the baubles from. So what we'll then do is take our heat tool and just heat this up. There we go. Okay, and then we're going to take our glitters back in and we're going to bling this up a little bit. So we're going to start off with a bit of Diamante sparkle. So on these larger gold chains, we're going to go in with our PVA glue. So again, just dots of PVA glue. like this. Okay, and then we're going to take our Diamante sparkle, just sprinkle that over the top. Okay, and we'll pop that to one side. And then we're going to do the same again, but with glass slipper. So on the more silvery chains, we're going to go in. And just apply that PVA glue and then cover it with this lovely glass slipper glitter. Okay, and while I've got that one out, I'm going to take my chisel tip glue pen in again. We're just going to edge this piece of card. Okay. So we're just going to work around, adding a little bit of glitter onto there, like so. And then we'll just pop that to one side, like this. Just move that out of our way. Okay, and then next up we're going to grab our base card back in and we're going to start and stick this together. So we've got our lovely piece of foiled paper, which we're just going to stick down flat. Onto our card. Okay, and then we're going to take our foam pads in. Okay, we'll just pop these onto here. And then we're just going to peel the backs off of these foam pads. And there we go. And then we're going to grab this and stick this down just onto that base card like that. So we've just got a little bit of that foiled paper peeking through. And then we're going to grab our little baubles in and just start to stick these down. So I've done a few on a double layer of foam pads and then some just on a single layer, just so then they just pop a little bit more. So these two are double, this one's a single, and then this one here is a single. This one is a single, had to check there. And then this one, which is the star, is a double. So you can see how pretty that then starts to look. So the next thing that we're going to do is you get a little star die within the set. So we're going to take some silver mirror card, and actually I'm going to cut a couple of elements out at once here. So we're going to cut some bows. So you're going to need 6 of this bow and 6 of that bow in total. And then we'll also want our lovely Merry Christmas die, which I've managed to bury somewhere. Let me have a little look. see if I can find it. If not, it's fine. I've got one that I've already cut out, but it's just nice to show you it being cut. Just have a little look. There it is. I've got that many demos and things ready to film that stuff's all over at the moment. So we'll pop that one down there. We'll reuse our tape from the baubles earlier. And there we go. Okay, and then we're going to take our Gemini plate. So I've got some junior plates here. So I'm using my base plate, my magnetic shim, my plastic shim, and then my cutting plate on the top. And we will send that through. There we go. And then when we lift this out, we've got our lovely Christmas wishes and our little bows die cut. So let me find my little pokey tool. There we go. We've got these little bows here, which are beautiful. And then we've got this lovely big Christmas wishes. And this is lovely. We've used this in lots of the videos actually, but look at that. Absolutely beautiful. So we're going to pop that at the bottom. So let me move those plates out of the way and bring my card blank back in. So we've got my Christmas wishes, which is going to get stuck down there. So let's get this stuck on. So just a little bit of glue on the back. Okay, and then we're going to position that down onto here. Just stick that. There we go. And then what you're going to do with those little bows is, let me grab them. You're going to take them and basically stick two together. So we've got two different designs. So you're going to pop a little blob of PVA glue in the middle of each. And then you're just going to fold like that, just in the middle. Okay? And then stick them on top of each other. And that then gives you a little three-dimensional bow. And then we're going to take these little bows and stick them onto our finished card. So I'm just going to use a little bit of PVA glue, just a good blob on the top of each of the baubles. And then we can just position these little bows down. And what you can do as well is, I like to add a little Diamante to the middle of the bow, just, you know, something a bit extra. Got some that I've already stuck together here. And just go along, sticking these little bows on top of the baubles, and honestly they look so beautiful when it's all dry. They look really kind of three-dimensional and really, really pretty. That one can go on there. We've got this one and this one. Bigger one on this snowflake. Could do a mix of gold and silver bows if you wanted as well. But that would then be your finished project. So thank you for joining me today. All of the materials that I have been using are listed in the description below. So please do have a little look on there. I'll pop the other card, I'll stand the finished card sample up because this one's dry. So let's have a little look at that. There we go. So you can see how beautiful and three-dimensional that is looking. So that is your finished card project for today. As I've said, all the materials are listed in the description below, and that was made using our Gilded Bauble stamp and die set. If you haven't done so already, please do subscribe to our channel. We are always posting loads of inspirational card making videos, and please do check out our website as well, which is www.chloescreativecards.co.uk. Thank you for joining me, and I hope to see you again soon. Bye!